Did you know that the average person spends around 40% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they're currently doing? That's almost half of our day spent lost in thought, often overthinking, worrying, and ruminating on things that may or may not happen. Our minds wander into the past, anticipating future scenarios or rehashing old ones. And when that happens, it's easy to get stuck in a cycle of unproductive or ineffective thinking. It's no wonder, no surprise that we sometimes feel paralyzed by making decisions or feel overwhelmed by anxiety simply because we're so caught up in our thoughts, we're so in our heads. Overthinking is one of those mental habits that can feel deceptively productive. We tell ourselves that if we just think through it enough, we'll find the perfect solution or we'll avoid potential problems. But the truth is, overthinking often leads us further from clarity, further from having a clear solution to what's happening. Instead of moving forward, we get trapped in this spiral of what ifs and maybes. We doubt our decisions and we revisit things from every angle. This constant mental chatter can make even small decisions feel like huge barriers, leading to feelings of paralysis where taking any action feels almost impossible. One common way that overthinking shows up is through replaying conversations or events over and over again in our heads. You might catch yourself thinking, why did I say that? Or I should have done this differently. It's almost like we're trying to rewrite a script that's already been performed. And while it's normal to reflect on experiences, when it becomes obsessive, it pulls us out of the present moment and it leaves us feeling stuck in something that happened in the past. Another key sign of overthinking is constantly worrying about the future, spending so much time imagining all of the things that might be going wrong that we lose sight of what's happening in the moment. Instead of preparing ourselves for the future, which is what we think we're doing, all we end up doing is spinning our wheels in circles, worrying about scenarios that may never ever happen. Overthinking can also manifest itself in rumination, and this is where we fixate on a problem, turning it over and over and over in our minds repeatedly, but without actually moving forward towards a solution. It's the mental equivalent of running on a treadmill. So you're putting in a lot of effort, but you're not really going anywhere. We keep revisiting the same issues, expecting some new insights to just magically appear, but instead, it just leaves us feeling more overwhelmed. And then there's analysis paralysis, the point at which you've analyzed something so much that you can no longer make a decision. Every little detail feels important. Every outcome seems critical. And as a result, we become too scared to take any action. It's exhausting, both mentally and emotionally. It can make even the simplest choices feel like huge, monumental, life-altering decisions. And when we're trapped in this cycle of overthinking and rumination, it's easy to feel like we're out of control, as if our thoughts are running the show and we're just along for the ride. But the good thing is that there are practical strategies that we can use to break away from overthinking. And one of the most effective of these strategies is mindfulness. Mindfulness practices, things like meditation or deep breathing exercises. What they do is they can help train your mind and train you to focus on the present moment rather than being caught up and swept away by your thoughts. Even something as simple as taking a few slow, deep breaths can create enough distance between you and your thoughts to regain some perspective. Mindfulness also helps us develop an awareness of our thinking patterns, allowing us to notice when we start to spiral into overthinking. Once you're aware that you're overthinking, that can help you then redirect your attention back to the present. So, for example, if you find yourself stuck replaying a conversation over and over and over again, what mindfulness can do is help you to pause and ask yourself, is this helping me right now? And more often than not, the answer is no. And that awareness can be the first step in letting go of this mental loop that you might catch yourself in. Another effective strategy is to set time limits for your decision making. When you give yourself too much time to weigh out all of the options, you can open the door to overthinking. So, by setting a time limit, say 5 or 10 minutes when you're faced with a decision, what this does is it forces you to trust your instincts and to take action rather than agonizing and ruminating over every possible outcome. Remember, most decisions that you make in life aren't as life or death as our overthinking minds would lead us to believe. So, by creating time limits, what we do is we limit the amount of space we give or we allow for overthinking. Another important strategy is to practice self compassion, and this can be helpful in managing overthinking. Um, Too often, we're our own harshest critics. We dissect every thought, every word, every action that we've taken, and we hold ourselves up to these impossible standards that we expect of ourselves. But it's really important to remind ourselves that our thoughts are just that. They're just thoughts. They're not facts, and they certainly don't define who we are. By learning to recognize that our thoughts are fleeting and our thoughts are subjective, what we can then do is to begin to detach from them. Think of it kind of like watching clouds float across the sky. Your thoughts, they'll come and go like those clouds. You don't need to sort of grab onto and hold on to each of those thoughts. And in addition to mindfulness and self compassion, setting clear goals and priorities can be important to help reduce overthinking. When we're not really clear about what we want, it's easy to get bogged down in irrelevant minutia or irrelevant details and to lose sight of what's really important. By having a clear sense of our purpose, you can help steer your mental energy towards things that are meaningful and meaningful steps rather than wasting time over trivial or less meaningful things that aren't that big of a deal in your life. What this is like is having a mental filter that helps you sift through all of the clutter or the unnecessary things and help you focus on what really matters. And one mindset that can be particularly helpful in breaking overthinking is to uh, embrace the idea of good enough. Perfectionism is often at the core of overthinking. When we tell ourselves that if we think just a little bit longer, or consider one more angle, or spend a little bit more time to figure this out, and then we'll be able to find a solution. But the problem with that, being rooted in perfection, is that it's a trap. Keeps us stuck, constantly second guessing ourselves and never allowing us to be satisfied with any decision that we make. So, by embracing the concept of good enough, what we can do is to free ourselves to move forward. Making progress, even if it's imperfect, even if it's not the perfect step, is better than being stuck in indecision. Because perfection is an illusion. And if we accept and we recognize that perfection is it's like a mirage, what we do is we give ourselves permission to take action rather than trying to figure out the perfect solution. Overthinking can be a major obstacle in daily life. It can affect our ability to make decisions, it can cause unnecessary stress, but it doesn't have to be a permanent fixture. It doesn't have to be a part of our lives. By recognizing some of the signs of overthinking, by incorporating mindfulness, by incorporating self compassion into our routine, and by focusing on what really matters, What we can do is this allows us to break free from that analysis paralysis, and it can allow us to start living with a clearer, less anxious mindset. And if you're interested in learning more about perfectionism and the ways of overcoming perfectionism, I'd encourage you to check out this video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.